What is up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today we're going to be talking about the possibility of more funding for the EIDL program because Senator Rosen out of Nevada and Senator John Cornyn out of Texas have teamed up together to create a bipartisan legislation to provide increased EIDL loans and EIDL cash advances. So if this bill passes, that means that you may actually have a chance to receive that cash advance of up to $10,000. So let's get started. This was announced Tuesday, July 21st, so just a few days ago, and so it is in the very early stages of being introduced and then being negotiated. But the article and the announcement states, today, U.S. Senator Janik Rosen out of Nevada, a member of the Senate Committee on Small Business and Entrepreneurship, and Senator John Cornyn announced their introduction of the Ensuring Increased Disaster Loans for Small Business Act. This bipartisan legislation would assist the nation's small businesses impacted by the coronavirus pandemic by providing an additional $180 billion for the economic injury disaster loan threshold set by Congress. This bipartisan legislation would assist the nation's small businesses impacted by the coronavirus pandemic by providing an additional $180 billion for the economic injury disaster loan and EIDL advance programs. The bill would also prohibit the Small Business Administration from arbitrarily capping EIDL loans below $2 million, the threshold set by Congress, and would require the SBA to provide the $10,000 EIDL advance grants to all eligible businesses, regardless of size, as intended in the original CARES Act. The article then goes on to essentially say that COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on small businesses, and it really is kind of the government's duty to step in and assist the small businesses as needed. And with this bill and with this $180 billion extra in funding, we would receive $100 billion in appropriations for EIDL, $80 billion in appropriations for the EIDL advance. It would prohibit the Small Business Administration from placing maximum caps below the $2 million threshold that was set by the CARES Act, because in the CARES Act, all eligible businesses shall receive funding in the amount calculated using the SBA's current formula, and that is up to $2 million. So as we currently stand, even if the SBA calculations calculate the loan amount that you are eligible for and you should receive as like $1.5 million, $2 million, you could not receive that because of the fact that there was that $150,000 cap. And so really recently, and for the last kind of month and a half, the maximum amount that you could receive through the EIDL program was $150,000, despite how big your business was, despite what your revenue figures are, despite what your costs were, that was all you were allowed to receive. With this bill, it also says that it would require the EIDL advance grants to be distributed to eligible small businesses within 3 days. As we all know, the CARES Act had this outlined in it, and that is not what ended up happening. Whenever the CARES Act was first introduced, it took really kind of a month and a half to 2 months to receive EIDL funds. Now that process has really been streamlined quite significantly, but it took 4 months to get there. With this new bill, the SBA would be required to distribute those funds in just 3 days. And then lastly, it would require the SBA to submit a monthly report to the House and Senate Committee on Small Business and Appropriations on, one, the status of the disaster loan account, including obligations, allocations, and amounts undistributed and unallocated. And the second requirement it would make is that it would need to report on all allocations, obligations, and expenditures for all open disasters. And thirdly, it would need to report an estimate of when available appropriations will be exhausted. And what this would do is it would really take away all of the problems that the EIDL program is currently experiencing. It would require the SBA to be clear and be transparent about their numbers and the status of the EIDL program. It would require funds to be distributed quickly. It would require the grant to be up to $10,000 as it was originally intended, and it would allow for businesses to receive up to $2 million, which is what it was originally intended according to the CARES Act. So this kind of takes all of the issues and all of the complaints that we have all made over the last few months, and it really kind of solves all of those problems. But then that begs the question of what can you and what can I do to help get this bill passed? And that's where calling your senators and calling your congresspeople and letting them know how you feel about how the EIDL program and how the SBA is handling the CARES Act. We are all frustrated, we're all disappointed, and we're all angry with how this process has been. And it doesn't do any good by just sitting on those feelings and being frustrated in the comfort of your own home. You need to call your senators, you need to call your congresspeople, and you need to let them know that you are frustrated, that you are angry, and that if they don't do something about it, you will not vote for them come the election. And if you vocalize this enough, and if all of us do it, then bills like this will be passed, and they will help us and small business owners all over the country. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link in the description below of how you can get in touch with your congressmen and women and with your senators, and how you can get in touch with them either by phone or by email or by surveys, and you can let them know how you feel about these types of bills that are being introduced, because this is incredibly good news. It means a whole lot for a whole lot of businesses out there. And it could finally be your ticket in getting that full $10,000 cash advance. But we need to ensure that it's going to get passed. And so I will be calling my senators in Texas, and I encourage you guys to do the same in your state. But this is great news, you guys. I will keep you guys updated as this bill goes along the judicial process, and I will let you guys know its progress as it works its way through the government. But this is great news. I think that this is kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, which will hopefully mean that we will all be able to get more grants, we will all be able to get more funding that we desperately need, and it can help so many small businesses that are out there. And so like always, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments. What are your thoughts on this new bill that's being introduced? Do you think that it's going to pass? I would love to hear your comments down below, so make sure to leave a comment and I will respond to everyone. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.